Episode 1013 of the Too Thick Pod, your home for all things sports, cards, and levity. I am Jeremy, aka Kano, joined as always by my son, the son that makes Courtney and I most proud in this instant moment, Manny being Manny 6.9.
What's up, everyone? And we are live with Too Thick and Collective Indy, and we have our returning guest, Miss Courtney. We were all at Shipshewana this weekend. This is what we're recapping. Shipshewana, Mr. B's sports card. I'm excited. I get excited for this show before we start because I get to see a lot of people from the Midwest that we're friends with, because it seems like everyone comes to this show. So, welcome, Evan. Do you want to give a little? The people know Courtney because Courtney is like the nucleus of Too Thick. The people probably don't know Evan, so you want to give a brief background of yourself?
So obviously I started collecting as a kid like most people, and I went up till 2003 when LeBron was a rookie, and I grabbed a handful and then just didn't pick it up till probably pandemic, I'm guessing, right when most people did, and kind of dove in and then started working at the shop we have here in town, Indy Card Exchange, which is a awesome shop. And so I've just been learning more than I could ever imagine and just kind of still diving in.
So we've got Evan joining us, who is very modest, hardcore collector. He's been wheeling and dealing. We've been knowing Evan for a couple of years now, whether it's sliding through the DMs, exchanging messages, whether it's showing up at the show, buying, selling, trading. And as recently, we just missed crossing paths in Indy when my boy Adam, a.k.a. Andy from the Indy Card Exchange, let us know that you're now a full-time employee over there. So first, congratulations on the gig.
Thank you.
Awesome establishment for you to be working at. And we appreciate you jumping on because, we're going to give our feedback what it's like to be on the other side of the table. You have experience being on the back side of the table, but this show you were walking it. So I look forward to getting your perspective as we go through it. And I must say, Courtney, I don't even want to record this pod right now. I just want to come upstairs and ravish you, my dear.
Jeez. What do we say after that, Jeremy? You just threw a bomb and then you're like, yep, someone else.
Make everyone uncomfortable.
We'll see you next week.
All of a sudden, both of our cameras turn off, but Jeremy forgets to turn off the sound.
Yep, typical. That would be the typical reckless thing to do. So it was a busy weekend for us. I would say Courtney, you were driving everywhere this weekend, but Jeremy and I, before we get started, we were in the Lansing show on Saturday, got done with the Lansing show. Jeremy drove all the way to Shipshewana because you couldn't miss trade night. I didn't make it to trade night. But Jeremy, Evan, were you at trade night?
No, so I worked at the shop until 5 and then ran home, tried to shower real quick and book it to Shipshewana. And just by the time I got there, I would have had like an hour. So I just went to the lake instead and figured we'd rest up for tomorrow.
That's good. So while we talk about trade night, I do want to ask Courtney. I know Jeremy's been hyped about the trade night. So Courtney, how was trade night for you?
So I got to trade night. Originally I thought I was going to beat Jeremy there, but I got sidetracked in Wisconsin. So I got there like probably 35-40 minutes after him, and I couldn't find him. And it's compounded by the fact that the second you walk into Shipshewana, anyone who goes there regularly knows that it's like a family, and it feels like a family reunion. So you walk in the doors. First of all, there was no parking, and I was only there like 45 minutes after it started. I had to park like way in the back in a not spot, and I walk up and the doors open, and it sounded like a stadium inside. It was like you could just hear it felt like hundreds of people talking. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people here. So I walk in and you start walking around, And it's like your family. It's like, hey, how are you? How's the family? How are the kids? And you start talking and you have all of the, and Jeremy was in the way back. So it took me probably an additional 30 minutes to get all the way to the back where he was, because I had to stop by, Jason Gillespie and say hi to him, and everyone was doing the scavenger hunt, and Brad and Gabby and TNT and Johnny Ford and Dennis. What? It's more like a party. So I did manage to do some deals though, so that was good.
Yeah, where's the deals? Courtney, that guy just put on the banner, is way too popular for us now. She can't even make it to her table in 30 minutes without stopping and talking to everyone.
I will say, I saw her walk in. I'm like, thank God she'll be here in 2 minutes. I can go to the bathroom. Because you know how I get like laser focused on the task at hand. So I left Lansing. We stayed until 4 o'clock. I felt like obligated. You make a commitment to a show. I think it's in my personal opinion, I don't judge anybody who operates differently. Like, it's in poor taste to dip early. We made a commitment to the Avery show, which in itself we've said is the best show in Michigan. We at 4:05, man, I put a whip on that. We were working. We were out. We carried everything in one trip. Manny carried 17 showcases like this. He was a G. Like, he was like, hey, you want to go to a Cuban restaurant? I'm like, Manny, you go F yourself. I got to go. I got things.
He literally said that. And I want to go eat with him.
And nobody knows this better than Courtney. Manny, you're learning this. When there's something that's got to be done, the world can be on fire. Like, I'm laser focused. So anyway, when Courtney walked in, I was like, okay, I can finally go to the bathroom because I've had to pee since like 3:15. And I'm not lying. It probably was like another half an hour before 45 minutes. Where the hell is my wife?
She's taking pictures with everyone.
What the hell are you doing, woman? Come on, get over here. And sure enough, hug here, kiss there, hug here. I'm like, good God.
I saw her going like this, waving like this through the aisle.
No, but like, we talk a lot about community and like how cardboard brings us together. When you can walk through a room of straight, like, what used to be strangers, and people think that much of you to stop and want to have a conversation, in that moment, it's just a surreal feeling. It's pretty damn awesome.
We talked with Brad about how weird it was from like our first show, how nervous we were, and like walking in now, like 2 years later, it just feels like super comfortable and chill. It's a totally different feeling.
Yeah. I was super nervous before I set up for the first time, and then an hour later it's like, all right, we're good.
Well, the trade show, so like that, I guess the emphasis on the trade show before we get is like there's a lot of people, right? Courtney says you open the door, you hear the crowd going wild. It's probably because everyone's saying hi to Courtney. It wasn't people doing trades or anything. The whole room stopped and looked at Courtney to make sure that she was okay. Had the red carpet out. But Jeremy, you had a bunch of deals, right? And
yeah, so I have to tell like a little bit of story to paint a picture to give the Shipshewana trade night its due. All like for us personally, like in the Midwest, Shipshewana is like the Super Bowl of shows. Everything works around that. We skipped Mint last year for Shipshewana. So there's an incredible amount of buildup to it. Now I'm talking specifically just about, the buying and selling and trading of cards. I'm not even factoring in or counting all the work that Courtney does for the Scavenger Hunt. So when you talk about that, the weeks leading up was accumulating inventory. And I know, Manny, you got sick of me because I was just like, Manny's like, I want to sell my cards. I'm like, I'll buy them. I don't care what it is. I need inventory. Anybody that would sell me anything, I would buy it. And so we've been stretched pretty thin over here. And I'm not one to ever complain or say there's not enough hours in the day. I'm just like, I'm the kind of asshole, like there's always a solution to any problem. House is on fire. Well, use the burning embers to, cook your meat. Like,
figure it out.
Figure it out. So we got like a cryptic DM that we've talked about, and I think Courtney's going to drop the video, Wednesday or Thursday, where somebody's like sent us a bunch of pictures, and they were good enough to grab your interest, but dark enough you weren't quite sure what you're getting into. So we went downriver, which is about an hour and a half, to pick up a substantial lot of cards. So we had inventory. We got to Lansing, and I'm telling this spot is there was a guy set up across from me where in the middle, I just like mid-conversation with Manny, I'm like, I got to go. And I picked up another couple $1,000s worth of cards. Even though I had a full showcase, I was just like, take it. And this is like the relationship thing is important because we've done deals. So I know, like, I don't even have to look at the prices. He'll be fair with me. He'll give me a good deal. We bought all those cards, and Courtney, messaged me, and she's like, do you think that was a good idea? And like, you start to doubt yourself a little because you're buying so much. Hey, Aussie, oi, Aussie, oi.
The ADD just kicked in.
Ow.
Holy cow!
Scared the shit out. I thought someone was in the house.
I know.
Oh,
I thought Steven walked in.
So
No, I would have
trade
seen
night,
that.
when we
You
get
would have had
there-
to go past me. I thought someone came into the basement. I'm like, what is going on?
So trade night starts at 6 p.m. I roll up at 5:55, and the parking lot is packed. Absolutely packed. I'm in the back of the parking lot, one spot away from being in the very last spot. We get in, and we did over 5K on trade night just in $5 cards to $50 cards. And all that inventory was gone. The cards that I had bought that I wanted to grade that looked really clean that I spent the time to look at, centering's good, edges, Lulu's
You spent
move.
the time to look at.
Yeah. You weren't there, Courtney. God knows where you were. You sure as hell weren't grinding with me and Lance.
Oh, you're talking about. I thought you were talking about the lot.
So
from
I had
Denver.
a section set aside in the Zion case, and we were moving so much inventory, you had to take it out. So that's how good trade night is. Everybody's there. Repackers are buying. People who are coming that don't even have to set up at the show are coming and just making a killing at trade night. I think there was, what they say, over 500 people at trade night. Is that what Brad posted?
I thought that's what I read. Yeah.
500 people from 6 to 10:30, 11 o'clock. Pandemonium, people buying, selling, trading, man. That's so all those cards that I bought, the trip was well worth it. Had I not done it, I wouldn't have had cards to sell. I would have run out completely.
And as someone like walking the show like myself, I feel like trade night is definitely huge to get there the night before and maybe make some moves or at least get a feel for the room. And I just think if you're walking the show, especially, you should definitely try to get there for trade night.
I think it's interesting how many people who are walking the show come to trade night the night before and kind of scope out what people have. They ask you, oh, are you going to be here tomorrow? Are you going to bring more? Do you have more like what you have out? Because, it gives you kind of an idea of what's going to be there the next day. I mean, assuming it doesn't sell, because I know people, I hear people say that they didn't sell anything or whatever. It has been a long time for us since we've been to a show where we're like, oh, it was bad, we didn't sell it. Like, we struggle to keep things in our cases these days. So it was wild. Trade night was wild. I'm sitting there watching people stack cards. I have people, coming up trying to negotiate with me or like doubting my ability to negotiate, and then I taught them a lesson. So I'm like, it's fun. I'm like, you must be new here. Do you not know who I am?
You don't know me. You will.
Calm down there.
Fun fact: you want to negotiate with Jeremy and not Courtney?
No, I'm way harder than
I was just
you.
saying you'd get the. I've seen both, and Jeremy, like, I think it was the same card. And I think the guy like offered the same price to Courtney, and then Courtney went to do her scavenger hunt, and then they offered the same thing to Jeremy, and Jeremy's just stand out, and I'm like, you're so easy, Jeremy.
I won't, like, I have no problem coming down off of comps, obviously, but Jeremy he'll go down like 75%. I'm like, no, I'm not going past 80.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll die for $5. I don't. I have 5 kids, including Manny. I have to feed them.
Yeah.
And so I need that $5 more than you do, and you're gonna pay me. So
that's a happy
fair argument.
No, so I was pretty bummed. Evan, I know you probably were too about not making trade night, because the last show I made the biggest deal I've ever done where I thought I won the trade. And the thing that was cool is the guy on the other side of the table thought he won the trade. So it was like the best outcome for both.
Was that
right?
Brett?
Yeah, Brett. We both did a
Nice.
trade. I got rid of. I wanted to get rid of an Mbappe card that I had out of 99, and he wanted. He PC's Mbappe, and he was throwing out Hollands with me, and and then on top of it, he's like, "Here's some cash," because I was like, "Okay, cool." And like I never thought trading would be that easy. I thought I would have to like, oh, I need cash for that. I don't like doing that. I'm not that type of person, but we were both happy. We were both ecstatic. So I was pretty bummed. Didn't make it. What's cool about trade night that I've noticed though is there's a lot of people that aren't dealers that this is their opportunity to put out all their cards at the table and they can become the dealer per se at trade night. And I've realized that there's a lot of people that do that.
It's a good jump start if you need some cash before the show too. Kind of just a couple quick deals, feel better about going into the next day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of like going to say hi to somebody or going somewhere, I've never once in all the years of doing it, I have never once walked trade night and I have never once walked the show to kind of put in perspective like how hectic it is and what kind of activities going on. And it's not like a bunch of people sitting on the ground either. I mean, there is tables everywhere. Anybody can get a table. You can work off of all 185 tables or whatever they have set up. And one thing that I thought was interesting is there was a lot of familiar faces in a sense that showed up, and they're not like the locals or the people you normally see at the show. They're people that you would see like on YouTube or Instagram who keep hearing about this show and decided to make the trek in to see what the hoopla is all about.
I feel like that speaks volumes about the show. Like the fact that the amount of people that were actually coming and traveling. And I saw some people from Atlanta. I saw some people from California. I was like, okay, all right, respect. We got some people like recognizing that this is it is a good premiere show that you should be attending.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like walking around too, like everything was moving. It wasn't like just football was moving or just basketball. Like even the TCG stuff. I guess I should ask you guys, but like just walking around the Pokemon seemed like it was moving pretty well. And vintage, modern, everything. It wasn't like one specific category that was like really killing it.
So just because you brought up TCG, I will like one challenge that I faced is I am a complete and total novice in TCG, but we had a showcase that had TCG and Pokemon. And people are like, "Oh, you're buying?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm buying." And they pulled out TCG and Pokemon. I'm like, "I'm not buying that. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm stupid and I don't know what the hell any of it is."
Yeah, it is rough. People ask me, I'm like, I don't know, man. These aren't my cards. I'm like, Manuel.
Yeah, I barely know anything. But Evan, going to the show, how was it? Because like Jeremy and Courtney said, Courtney's usually running that scavenger hunt, so that takes up all her time. Jeremy's making deals, so he doesn't even get to like leave the booth to even go to the bathroom. So how was the show on the opposite side, walking it around? Did you find what were you looking for? Did you find the type of cards that you were looking for?
I was mainly looking for some Jordan or like short print LeBron stuff or rookie LeBron stuff. And I was able to get a gold foil LeBron PSA 10, the chalk toss, from 15 hoops. So that was kind of like, I guess, my big purchase for the day. And I wanted to buy a Golden Touch Jordan, and it was raw. I would say it'd probably do like a 7 or an 8, and I just decided not to.
Sometimes the best deals are the ones that don't get done, right?
Yeah. It was just one of those. Took a lap and decided, nah, not today.
When you're at a show, Evan, just like you go in with a strategy, are you disciplined where you stick to the strategy regardless, or are you able to come up off of that if you see something that just makes complete and total sense, whether it's an arbitrage play or just like, hey, that's a cool card and I know like I'm probably not going to have an opportunity to get it at this price point, so I'm going to scoop it.
We know what it is.
I definitely, like, if you look through my case, I have a lot of like weird cards that people probably don't know about or collect. So when it comes to like a lot of the cheaper stuff, like under $100, if it's something that I like or catches my eye and it's under $100, I'll pick it up. But if we're talking about the more expensive stuff, I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to that. It's a handful of people that I go for. And I mean, if someone throws me a deal that just makes too much sense, of course I'll take it. But I'm pretty disciplined on who I take when we get a little bit more expensive in the cards.
How cool is it? Because like you said, you work for a card shop, right? And you're always technically on the dealer side. Everyone's coming to you sell cards. Like, is there a difference from when you're at a card shop buying to like what Jeremy and Courtney are doing behind at a card show, or is it essentially the same thing?
It's honestly pretty similar. Obviously I have to be a little bit more picky because I'm not buying for myself. I'm buying to what can sell in the shop. So in that sense, I have to be a little bit more picky. But other than that, it's pretty similar. Like this is what it's worth. This is what we can do. And hopefully we can make a deal. I just have to, selection wise is the only thing I have to be more picky on.
That would stress me out buying for somebody else. I feel like that would be so stressful.
It is a little bit. And like, especially on trades, I have a certain number that like, if it's bigger than that, I just tell them to come back when Andy's there. Which is huge for me because I don't want the stress of doing like big deals when no one's there and be like, this is what we got. I hope I did good, And I'm confident in my knowledge, but at the same time, when you're playing with someone else's money, you don't want to make a mistake. And Andy's about as good of a guy as it gets, and don't want to disappoint him either.
Right. I hear nothing. Jeremy met him like in person, but I have heard nothing but just like shining accolades about that guy. So
he's the best.
That's crazy.
The only thing that's even remotely close to negative that I heard about him is that he probably doesn't pay his employees enough, specifically.
We're gonna have to talk.
That's just a rumor. I don't know. I heard that earlier today, like maybe 5 minutes before we went online. So I'm not sure.
No, he's the best. Yeah, he's actually more than fair.
Well, there you go, Evan. Evan, I get what you're saying too, because Jeremy, like he said, he'll walk away from the table, especially the Lansing show. He wanted to buy, and he's going to buy, and then people will come up and be like, "This is how quick like people are buying his football." I would say what's moving for Jeremy is football right now. Football quarterbacks, because when he leaves the table, everyone's like, I don't know what it is. I think they think he's going to give them a deal. They swoop in and say, how much for this? How much would you go for this? How much? And I'm like, not my cards. I'm not dealing with those. He's like, and then I feel bad because they're waiting, and I'm like, Jeremy's like right at the corner, so I'm like waiting for him to look, and I'm like, hey, there's people want to trade here, and you could tell Jeremy's like, 1 minute he's making a big deal. So I get it, because I do get stressed out even when they go lower, like $5, like Courtney says, $5 from like the sticker price Jeremy puts in. I get so nervous because I don't want to make a mistake.
Well, it's like they price it fair already too. So like if they're asking for lower, it could be like a real take.
So this is the special kind of asshole that I am.
Yeah,
I'm always like, yeah, don't worry about Manny. Whatever you charge him, we're good. I give him like no, like, hey, my bottom on this card's $235. Don't go.
Yeah,
I'm always like, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, no, Manny, like, whatever you think, dude. Whatever you think.
He says that until I accidentally told him the wrong player. There was a card that it was shout out. It's Up North Collectible, so we both knew him. And he's been at shows and everything. But he comes over and it was a Jared Goff Donruss like base. PSA 9 or something like that, and he had his price for 35, and he was like, would you do 30? And they were both like talking, and I was like, sure. But then Jeremy comes up to me after, he's like, what sold? I was like, a Justin Fields bait or graded card, and he's like staring at me like, did I just price that wrong?
No. So he told me, he said like, yeah, Justin Fields out of 35, and I was like,
no, or 35.
Or I sold a Justin Fields for 35, and I was thinking, like, man, I don't think I had anything cheaper than like $300 in the case. Immediately, I was like, did I price something wrong? Like, I wasn't mad at Manny. I was like, oh man, I am dumb. Like what card is missing from the showcase? It was like, that gray one. It was that gray one. That was like for a minute, like the world froze, and I was just like, no.
I was literally like the silver one, the quarter. Like I was like, I don't know, because he has so much. You saw his case. It's all
Justin Fields and Goff. That's it.
Yes.
That's what he's got.
And I was like, Justin Fields, and he was like, you just saw his eyes get big, and I thought he was gonna like grab my neck and throw me against the wall. And I was like, oh. Then you said Goff, like you remembered what card it was, and I was like, yes, it was a Goff. It was a Goff. He's like, oh, okay, that one was 35. I was like, whoa, that was scary.
I was, and my brain works like I am not a very smart person, but when it comes like I process stuff at like a rapid speed. So in that like 30 seconds, I had done a million scenarios in my head, like
all of which were bad.
I just ruined the entire show. All the good we had at trade night in Lansing is out the window because I priced $1,000 card at $35, and then Manny gave it to him for $30.
That was so bad. It was priced at $35. So either way, I was like, it was only $5 off, Jeremy. But
that extra $5 would have stung.
I don't know. I feel bad because like Jeremy, like when you come to his table, this is me bragging about Jeremy. He's very precise in meeting you. Kind of talking to you while he's like looking through his cards. He's not the type that just goes, nope, don't want it. So it's hard sometimes when people come up and he's buying because you're like waiting there and you don't want to, I hate, and I feel bad because I usually do it. I'll go and tap Jeremy while he's making the deal and he does not like that.
Hey,
but I have to because I don't.
That reminds me of mom, mother, mama.
I panic.
Mama, you know that Stewie scene with Lois? Come on. Mama.
But you can tell the confidence level between us two, Evan, because he'll sell my cards and just come up and be like, I sold your card. And I can't even sell his card. I'm like,
it makes me laugh too, because he does. He'll walk up and he'll be like, I'll have been doing something and I'll walk over and he's like, so I sold Manny's card, this much cash. He goes, I traded him for these cards, and then he lays it all out and he shows me. And I'm like, what did Manny say? He goes, I don't know, I haven't showed him yet. I'm like, so you just did that without talking to him? He's like, yeah, he'll be happy. And then you come back and you're like, oh, thanks, that's awesome.
I could have got screwed. I could have got screwed, and I'm like, let's go! I sold the car.
I do it because like it's great, and I know if it's like a win for Manny because you know we're friends, and so sometimes you have an idea of what they're trying to do or what they're into a card, and like you know. But also I love the opportunity to be like, well, you don't do any work. I have to sell all your cards for it. So like the motivating factor is one to look out for a homie, but more so to lord it over him and bust his balls.
He does. That's his favorite part. But he always, it's so funny too, because he always he does Jeremy's, I don't know, his heart's in the right place. He's always trying to do the best for people. So I never really worry about it. I always feel like when I'm selling our own cards that belong to me, I think that's why I'm way more aggressive than Jeremy, because I'm like, I am going to prove that I can do this, and that they're going to even though I've been doing this for years, I always feel like I have to, I'm not going to let someone get over on me.
Still want the respect.
It's so bad. Sometimes I'm like, if I'm in a really good mood, I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. And other times I'm like, it's more the way that people come at me, I think. It's like the way that they come up and if someone walks up to me and they look at my card and they're like, that's okay. What's the best you can do on, or what's the lowest you'll go? I'm like, immediately I'm like, I'm not going to give you a number.
On the dealer side,
I'm not going to do that. So, and also I'm like, my standard answer is, well, what's the most you'll pay for it? I'm like, and if you're nowhere close to what I'm thinking, then we don't have a deal. And that makes it really easy.
That is something before we get out of here tonight I want to talk about is the etiquette at shows, because for all the positive and all the great that there is one consistent frustration that I hear from fellow vendors and people in the space are the people that just walk up and say, what's the lowest you'll take? No, hello, not how are you? How's the show? Absolutely nothing. Very rude. And I don't know if that's something lack of and it's not all kids, it's adults too. So I don't know if it's just this YouTube culture or Instagram where people think it's cool to get over on somebody. But I left the show thinking it's okay to make money. It's okay to have fun, but you can do it in a way where you're not, we've even had people that have bought cards from us who have come back and I bought it from you for 50 and I sold it for 100. Haha. And we're like, okay.
Yeah, I bought it for $5, bud. So congratulations.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that. But we'll get back to that in a moment. I want to go and talk about what, in my opinion, is the highlight of the show. And I get to take a little bit of credit because I do participate, but the scavenger hunt. Because in my opinion, and obviously I'm biased because I'm I'm smashing the person who puts it on. We had Beckett grading. We had SGC grading. We had multiple Zion cases. We had sealed wax. We had Hit Parade repacks. We had so much stuff to give away to these kids, and to see how excited they were to make their day and to see some of the selflessness of these kids. And I'm interested to get, Courtney, I want to hear what you have to say. But one thing that to me makes me feel good about the future of the hobby is we all talk about.
He's gonna cry.
All right, Courtney, I'll give it to you. You're gonna like what Courtney has to say. I gave you some bullet points.
No, he's laughing because we had a conversation about some of the things, and you guys bore witness to one of the really cool things that happened at the scavenger hunt. But I was saying after all of that, I was telling the stories of some of the stuff that happened that made me like legitimately tear up. I actually made a couple adult men cry at the show, retelling some of the things that happened, which I'm going to share here tonight. I made a big long post for Instagram, but I decided that I would like share this live on Too Thick, because it's something that like I feel like you have to hear it to understand like the impact of it. So first I'm going to tell the two really awesome stories that happened, and then I'm going to like, Jeremy was about to steal my line, and that's why he was laughing, because I was the eyeball. So the first thing is, the scavenger hunt's a big deal. And a lot of the kids, they're really selfless when it comes to it. They all want to win the big prizes, right? Everybody, that's human nature. Everybody wants the big prizes. And you can see a little bit of disappointment when they still are getting hobby packs of wax. Like I had a kid who he didn't win anything. He didn't win any of the big prizes, but when he opened his pack, he got autograph card, and he was shocked. I'm like, I told you guys, these are like sealed. I don't just take like Lucy's laying around that, we already get the hit out of, and then I throw them in there. Like these are legitimate, like good cards. So even though they're not getting the big hits, they're still getting cool stuff. So that was one. But you see that like little bit of disappointment in them, which I think is a good lesson just in the space in general, because how many times have we all bought sealed boxes of wax and you don't hit anything? And it is part of this space, and I don't want to, like, I never want to disappoint kids, but I do think that like not having some big grand thing in every single pack is a good lesson. And again, they're still getting cool stuff, so don't let them feel too bad for you. So anyway, the point of that was to say that a couple kids did hit really big things, right? And there was this one little girl was there with her family, and I recognize them. They come to every like they've done the last few, at least that I remember. She's got like older siblings, and then she's the littlest one. So she opened her pack and she got like a gold ticket from TNT for to get free grading. And she was like real excited. She, they were talking about what card that they were going to grade, her and her mom. It was her and her mom together too, which is also super cool. So there's this other boy that comes with his mom, and he is in a wheelchair. And I don't know his medical condition. I assume that he has cancer because his mom's always wearing like a cancer sweatshirt and stuff. But he is on oxygen, and he's clearly, he needs help with what he's doing. So his mom pushes him around. She helps him open his packs. It's very sweet. So he comes up, he had completed the whole scavenger hunt, and he opens his pack, and he didn't get a big hit. And he was like, thanks, whatever. His mom was helping him open everything. And the little girl just leans over and hands him her gold ticket. Completely unprompted. Her mom didn't tell her to do it. She just gave it to him. And then he opens up his box of like that he has on his lap and hands her a pack of Pokemon cards that he had. It was such a sweet and innocent exchange. And like it would have gone completely missed had I not been standing there to witness it, you know? And like these things are just, they're like the little parts of it that make it worth it for me every quarter when we do this. And then so I bring her around and I tell her, you know, I have all these stacks of Disney cards. I give her, I'm like, what's your favorite ones? And her mom's like, oh, you don't have to do that. She's like, we have so much. We're very lucky. And if we can help other people and this and that. And I'm just like, no, that was really sweet. She, you know, she deserves, I want to give her something. And so she picks out a couple cards that she wants. And her mom tells me that her sister needs a liver transplant. So she understands like what, you know, families who are struggling with like illness are going through. And that was it. I lost it. I'm crying. I'm like, this little girl couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Precious angel child, this one was. So it was amazing to me. And then later, all day, like we had hundreds of packs. I made too many packs because last time we had like 300 kids, and this time we had only like slightly over 200, but I made like 400 packs. So as the day's going on and like some of the bigger hits aren't being pulled, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I can't take the Zion cases home. I don't want to take these home. And the last pack that got pulled was the big Zion, which thank God. I couldn't believe this kid. I'm like like all day, I'm like, please let this card get pulled out of here. And he pulled it and he was there. You knew him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and his dad are regulars at the shop.
So we're all standing there talking. The dad couldn't believe he pulled it. So he sets up on my table. He's got the exact same case already. I'm like, oh, I was like, I kind of hoped a kid who didn't have one got one, but whatever. You know, so he's talking about how he was very excitedly talking with his dad about how he could sell it and what is it worth and how amazing it is. And so we're all cheering him on. And so he walks down to the end of the table. His dad's like doing a deal with Jeremy. And this other little boy who had been up at the table repeatedly all day, just super excited about the scavenger hunt. He didn't hit anything big, but he was helping all the other kids, you know, telling them where they could find the other vendors. Just be like, anytime somebody would pull something big, he was like, oh, that's awesome, and congratulating them. You know, I could tell he was bummed out, but he wasn't like, you know, like kids who act like, oh, I didn't get anything. He didn't have that vibe at all. He was so like genuinely happy for the other kids that were like winning stuff. So he does like doing his final lap because again, it's almost the end of the show. And he comes up and he sees that little boy had pulled the Zion case. He's like, oh, that is so cool. I was waiting to see who pulled it. And like, he's like, you know, I wanted it, but congratulations. And the kid's like, oh, he's like, you want it? He's like, you wanted it? And I feel like he looked at him like, is this a joke? And he's like, yeah, you know, but like, it's so cool that you won it. And he was so nice that I almost walked over and just gave him the last Zion case. But that little boy who won it just goes, well, I already have one, so here. And he just hands him $100 Zion case. Again, completely unprompted. Nobody told him to do that. Nobody was like, oh, this little boy didn't get something. The little boy he gave it to was so shocked. And like, he was just like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. So I made him take a picture together. They were about the same age. And it turns out it was that other little boy's first card show he'd ever been to.
Oh, wow.
And he was just like, oh my gosh, this is so, you know, like beyond anything. He's going around telling all the other vendors. And then the vendors at the show who hear this story start giving him cards to fill up his case now that he has one. And I could not believe that 2 times in the same show, these like incredibly generous and selfless things happened right in front of me. I was so proud of these kids. And like all the other kids, there was another little boy who every show now brings me a Kobe White card because he's like, I remember that Kobe White's your favorite. So every show he comes up, he does the scavenger hunt. And when he's done with the scavenger hunt, he brings me a Kobe White card. And it's all, you know, these kids are so impressive. And we talk about kids are the future of the hobby and we need to cultivate the space and grow it. These kids, this is how we cultivate the next generation. These are the kinds of kids, and this is the future of the hobby that we should be working towards. And I am so proud of Shipshewana, the group of vendors, my family, you guys here that are on this right now, for being part of creating the next generation of kids and collectors who behave the way that these children at this particular show in front of me did. Because you always hear all the bad stuff. You hear about the kids being rude and the trade up challenges and how disrespectful they are. And, and that's not my experience. That's not what I'm seeing. So like the fact that I can share these stories is to me really important. And I'm like, I know this is too thick and not supposed to be like levity and stuff. And I'm like getting all emotional, but
Yeah, what the hell are you doing?
I know. I'm sorry. We'll talk about the jelly bean thing next.
No, what's that kid's name, Evan?
Hayden.
Hayden?
Yeah.
Shout out Hayden. If you're listening to this, your dad's a bad parent because he shouldn't be having us listen to him. That was dyslexic of me. What did I just say? Rewind.
That's getting
you know what I meant. But
and
no,
it comes
he was
full circle too, because he bought a card from Jeremy, and Jeremy gave him a good deal because he came up to me and he says, "I'd like a card over at that table." And I said, "Oh, well, he's as easy as it is to deal with. Just tell him what you're thinking."
That's not what you said, Evan. You're like, "Oh, I got a mark. This guy, we got him." You start at 20% and you say 30% nothing left.
Garrett Polka made me laugh with that. He's like, that little boy grew up to be Michael Jordan.
He just, and Jeremy gave him a deal, and he goes, "Just make sure you pay it forward to someone." And like 3 hours later, that happened.
He did.
So, full circle.
Well, I didn't know that happened. Oh my God, I'm telling you. Oh my goodness. I can't. I've told both of those stories like multiple times, and every time I tell them, it makes me cry. I don't know.
These kids come up and they're looking to do something, and I will give them any deal, but I'm like, there's a catch. I'm like, you have to hook somebody else up and look out for somebody else. That's all I ask. I'm not Courtney. I don't make you take a picture. I don't make you tap it up. I know you want to get on with your life and handle your business, but just look out for somebody, because you never know when you do something kind for somebody, how that can impact their day.
Yeah.
Would you do that for 100%. Lamar Jackson?
What's that?
Would you do that for Lamar Jackson?
What are you talking about?
The Lamar Jackson kid?
It was his dad.
Who's dad?
What are you talking about, man? You lost me. You're too clever for all of us here.
You said you would pay it forward for kids. I said, would you do it to the Lamar Jackson kid?
He's not a kid. Anybody that walks around and insults adults and brags about
kids got more money than we do,
and brags about $10,000 cards and all that stuff, he's all right, man. That's different. You know what I mean?
He doesn't need our help.
It was sweet. Okay. I was like, and then you guys forgot what he did. I don't think he told you guys, but I saw it. He put money in that veteran thing that you guys had as well.
I did see him do that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. He was like, what is this? He asked his dad, or did he ask you, Evan? And then and then he put money, and I was like, you don't have to do that. He's like, I want to. I was like, dang, this kid's going places.
He's a good kid. Very good kid.
Like, shout out to his parents, because honestly, they are doing a fantastic job with that one.
Let me tell you something. Backyard Breaks, I've never consumed any of their stuff. However, I'm acutely aware of how they're perceived within the hobby. I've seen, clips on like card porn, but I've never once watched a live stream. I believe the gentleman's name is Grant, and I've had 2 interactions with him. Once in Atlantic City, we were ripping wax at the Borgata. Remember that, Manny? We were all in that special room. And then
the red velvet room.
At Mint, Courtney, he was there with Yumi and Black Jaded Wolf. Yeah. He and his team or his company or the company he's associated with donates a substantial amount of cards to, is it Invisible
Vets?
Invisible Vets, who we're kind of working with. And I'll let Courtney do like a quick 20 seconds on what they're about. But this guy actually does some good. And I think it's worth mentioning, because everybody wants to talk about the bad stuff and everybody wants to be gotcha, but I don't ever hear anybody talking about them doing stuff for vets, especially coming off of, yesterday being Memorial Day. So real quick, Courtney, Invisible Vets, and then let's get back to the levity, because it's been too damn serious for too damn long.
Yeah. So again, one of the things that makes Shipshewana great is the people there. And through TNT, we have linked up with Invisible Vets. He is a 501c3 charity. And what they do is they reach out to veterans. Right now it's like mostly local to Michigan, I think Ohio, maybe Indiana, and they help homeless vets that need mental health care, and the families of veterans who have taken their own lives. And they do care packages. They help keep their boots on the ground, basically, to be there and be what these vets need. So for us, this is a cause that's very important to me as a person, and knowing that like this hobby, and this isn't he's not the only person in this space. The national, their charity of the year is Signatures for Soldiers. So there are a lot of people in this space that are doing good things, and Jim from Invisible Vets is one of them. So all of the net profits after their own costs are taken and given straight to vets. It's not like one of these things where like 95% lines the pockets of the people running it. The board isn't paid. They donate to be on the board. So this is something where, to me, being able to have the donation box up at our table and like watching people come up and put money into it, you can donate. If you have cards that you want to donate to this, you can donate cards to Invisible Vets, and you can get a tax write-off for that because it's a charity. So if you have cards that you want to donate, slide into the DMs with Reckless. I can link you up with them. You can send them cards and you'll get a tax write-off in return for that. And I think that, obviously if you're going to do that, please think about what you're sending. They have to haul this stuff around and sell it. So as much as I'm sure they would appreciate it if you sent boxes of junk wax, it has to be stuff that they can sell. So, and again, that's not Jim, that's me saying that because I just think that, again, he's doing a lot of work by himself right now. But yeah, Invisible Vets are on Facebook. He doesn't even want to spend the money on making a website. So they do everything through social media right now because he wants as much money from the charity to go back to, the people who need it. So that is my piece on them. They're amazing.
Manny, Evan, I'm curious to hear your perception of the show and what you saw. Manny, you kind of like a hybrid role. You were hanging out, helping, which we're always grateful and appreciative of. But you also got to go out and mingle. You got to chop it up. Our homie Trees was there in the front room. My man goes to mint one time, and all of a sudden he's a big dog in the mint. The first damn table when you walk in.
Right in the door there.
I think ultimately, when it was time to do some work at the end of the show and get up out of there, Manny, you said, nah, me, Evan, and Trees are going to go get tacos. To hell with y'all.
Yeah, no, so I felt bad. I do, because
you didn't feel bad. Shut up.
You fucking clicked your heels and skipped out of there so fast. And then they said you had burrito juice dripping down your chin. You were so happy.
No. You literally said beginning, we have an obligation. We're staying the whole time. And I left early to go eat with Trees and Ryan and Dan. But
hold on. In fairness, you did show up hella late too.
I did. Family first, Jeremy. No, so it was a good show. The worst thing I don't like, and it's mostly your cards that were people doing it, it's like the football collectors. Like I've talked to you about this before, how the TCG community is so much different than the sports card community with etiquette. Evan, you probably could kind of chime in on this because you deal with both, right, at the card shop. But everyone that comes up to this, like, to buy football from you guys, we're saying, kind of, you brought it up, was, what's the lowest you'll go on this? Without even what's the highest you'll pay? Like, that's what my response would be. Like, you don't ask that, just say, what are you offering? And then we go from there. Don't say what the lowest. I see people on eBay do it all the time. And I see their comments after, like, what's the highest you'll pay? And like, okay. Or they'll say, what's the lowest? And they have it stickered at 35. They go 35 because it's just rude how they're being. And I also got, I don't know what it is, but like 40-year-old to 50-year-old men, when I say, how's it going, look me up and down and get so pissed off at me. I don't understand it.
How dare you ask me how I'm
You know,
doing?
this is something like I noticed
every show.
a couple months ago. Like Manny says, "Hey, how are you?" And they give him
everyone.
like the eye scan up and down like Terminator style, like they're processing something in their cyborg head.
They think you're
And then
hitting
they
on
determine
them.
they like reluctantly say hello, like as if like he's putting them out by
It's
being
because
kind.
you're just too pretty, Manny. They think you're flirting.
Well, I literally go up to every person because I know Jeremy and you are busy. So when they're at the table, look, I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? And it's the 40 to 50-year-old men. They go like this and they're looking down. And they just go, like Jeremy says, look at me funny. And then look back down and say, good. And then just keep going. I'm like,
They do the same thing to me too. They're just angry. I'm like, I've never seen a group of people come somewhere to do something that we, you admittedly all supposedly enjoy and are just so angry about it. Like when I'm in a car show, I'm like, yeah, woo. People are saying hi. I'm like, what's up?
I know.
What do you got? Did you get anything good today? And they're just like, don't talk to me. Fuck you.
I don't understand it because when I get people that collect like TCG stuff, they're asking me about the show. Demon Slayer, I heard you're watching it. I heard you're on One Piece. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. This is a card you should get. Here's a card that I have. I don't have it. You want to do a deal? Like, that's how it is with TCG. And Evan, I'm curious, is that how it is at the card store as well? Because is it me? And what's wrong with me?
Yeah, a lot of times. I mean, it's a mixed bag, of course. But you'll definitely like walk up to people, and I'm always just like a super positive person.
You are the friendliest person.
So I'll always walk up, hey, how's it going? Anything you're looking for, anything like that. And I mean, I have people that will literally not even say anything to me, just look at me. And I'm just, all right. If they need something, they'll let me know. And and then there's a lot of people too that'll, sit there and have a conversation for 20 minutes. So it's just such a mixed bag. And the funny part is a lot of times you'll look at someone and be like, I bet he's going to not say a word to me. And then
I can tell.
minutes later, you're still talking to him.
Do you ever get totally surprised by someone who looks like super grumpy and then is like insanely friendly?
It happened. Honestly, it happened today.
Yeah, we're all like,
yeah, it happened today. I thought this dude.
Wait, say that again. Super grumpy and ends up being super friendly. I shit positivity, my friend.
No, you look angry when you're just.
Jeremy's got the most intense resting bitch face. Like he suffers from resting bitch face so hard. Like he'll stand there and he'll be like, he always has his arms crossed and his legs spread. He's like, and then someone walks up to the table and he goes, hey, how are you? And he's like, startling.
Takes you off guard.
I told Jeremy I sold that thing for $30 and he was like,
well, yeah, I mean, he thought you sold the Justin Fields card. That was like,
I was waiting.
He was worried.
I had to get out of arm distance. I went by you.
What he was thinking was, oh my God, I have to tell Courtney that I sold one of those $1,000 cards for $30 and she's going to freak out. Courtney won't even come down $5 on a card.
So when we were in Lansing, I legitimately saw my guy set up. I went over and without even asking prices, I was just like, boom, 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 boom. Stack it, came back because there was a bunch of people at our table, went back. And I found that a lot of newer people don't understand the importance of a relationship. That when you have that sort of relationship, it makes transacting that much easier. Like, I know that if like Trees had something like, hey, let me get that Connor McDavid, I know we're good. I know that if I wanted something from Manny, or if Manny wanted something from me, or Evan, we've done deals in the past. So it's important to build that rapport because there's people that if you would have just looked at them and judged them and jumped to whatever conclusion you made in your own head and never saw it through, there's people that I would have never thought that would spend. We had a kid who spent a few $1,000s with us this weekend that looked like he was 12 years old. And he was buying
a sweet kid.
A very nice kid, but he was like, he conversated with us. He bought cards from his mom. He asked us what we were into. And naturally, you're like, I like this person. I want to help him out. We took care of him. Real quick, Evan. We took care of him. He came back He came back again. He came back. He came back when another guy was like, did the whole, what's the lowest you'll take for it? And I sold it to the nice kid for even cheaper just to prove a point because, hey, we've already done deals.
While that guy was still standing there.
While he was still
I
standing
wanted
there.
to die. That guy was being such a jerk. This kid walks over and he's like, he'd come up, he'd done a couple deals with us, and he's like, it was probably $1,400 worth of cards, and Jeremy sold it to this kid for like $900. And I was like, whoa. And the guy standing there, and Jeremy's like, I will give someone, he's like, I'll lose money on a deal for somebody who is as kind as this kid has been the whole weekend. I was like, all right.
Well, it's also a lesson for the person that wasn't so nice. And then just see someone come up and just
Jeremy's
a little
just
bit of
out
respect, a little bit of smile, and look what happens.
Mr. Reckless teaching life lessons to the children at the show.
Doling out lessons.
That's why, like, the one thing that I was driving home, and I like to reflect a lot. And the one thing that like just kept coming to me is like, you can make money in this space. And I don't know what do it the right way is, but you can do it in a way where you don't have to get over on somebody. You don't have to be rude to somebody, and you don't have to take advantage of somebody.
Everyone can eat.
Yes.
That goes back to like what you were saying, Jeremy. Like you could buy, like if I walked up to Evan or we bought cards from Johnny Ford, it's like they're like, you're like, this is the card I want, and he's like, it's this much, and you're like, I'm not checking comps, I trust you, because they know that we bought cards from them. They know that we're going to see each other again. They know that we'll do more deals. And is it worth that one deal that one time, just ripping someone off that you're going to have to see repeatedly and know that now they're never going to do another deal with you ever, because they trusted you, and what 10% on a deal? Is it worth it? Some people think it is. I don't personally.
No, and that's like having the regulars at the shop too kind of makes deals easier with them too, because they know what they're getting, and they know like where we have to be, and just like, okay, this is what we're at. Can we do it? If not, no hard feelings. It's just quick and easy.
That's what I think, Jeremy. That might be a kind of a next tier of what we do at the table. I don't know how you feel about it, but we talked about it to Dennis, and and we see it at the National where they put like a price range with the percentage. So then they know they don't have to waste your time looking to buy because you're so busy. Like if you put like 500 to 1,000, it's like 85% or whatever, and then you keep going down. So then they know, right? I think
it's important to have the tiers on it too. Obviously you're going to pay stronger on the better stuff.
Correct. ABC. We had a guy at Nashville, and Jeremy and I and Courtney too. I think you sold some cards to him too. Like fell in love with the dude because he was like, I pay an 80%, and he broke it down. Maybe we kind of implement that at the table.
Might make it easier to buy too.
Yeah, because then they know, okay, this guy's paying at this a price, and why don't we just go and pay? Then you don't have to nickel and dime them. You know that you're going to pay 80%.
I mean, he pays 15% anyway, so like, what's an extra 5 to get cash in your hand?
Exactly.
Well, you know how I am. Courtney and I like to try everything. We've never once done something exactly the same. We're always kind of tinkering, adjusting, trying new things. Like,
he's talking about card stuff right now.
Yeah, we decided.
Yeah, you guys, we don't need your bedroom stories.
4 kids. Like for instance, we did a wrestling break that we thought like we can keep the price point super cheap. Great in theory. We practiced it last night. It only took us about 9 hours to run, and took us another 74 hours to separate them all.
Listen, it was a learning lesson, because oh my God, I will never do that. I said that after the absolute football break, and here we are fucking doing it again.
What? Because I know we're running out of time, I do want to ask Evan this because he's walking the show. What do you use for comps? And the reason I ask this is because you got Ludex, you have Card Ladder, and you have Alt. So I'm curious what you use, and I kind of have a background on why I'm asking this question. So what do you usually use? Or Google, or not Google, eBay.
I always use Card Ladder.
Card Ladder?
I've just used it for a while, and I've always liked it, and that's what we use in the shop too. So it's just always been good to me, and I've always just stuck with that one.
So do you go by their value, like Card Ladder value, or last sold?
don't usually go by the card ladder value. I mean, I'll take it into consideration, but unless it's a card that's on the ladder, like that has a bunch of sales, you can't. I mean, it's kind of hard to track it, especially if you're looking at a card that's, sold 3 times in the last 5 years and you're trying to extrapolate out the value over 2 years since the last sale or something like that. And it's just based on, I think, actually, I don't even want to say that because I don't know, but I think it's just kind of based on the player's market. So
It's so funny that you said that because like we had a card come off that like hadn't sold since like 2013 and then like since 2011, and they had the value of it as like a certain amount. It sold for like $40 like back then, and they had it like valued like at $500 now, and that would be something where due to the complete lack of comps, and then you're looking at like other similar cards of there aren't any. It was like a basketball player that signed a baseball,
yeah,
and then it was in a card. There's not even a card that you could comp on that.
no.
So to me, looking at the card letter value on that card, I would be like, okay, I like, I might consider that like as far as percentage wise, whatever they use their analytics to decide. I personally would trust that a little bit. I don't know, because how do you even come up with a comp for a card like that?
My problem too is that I wasn't in it like right before the boom, so I don't know what like prices were sitting at before the boom and how much they went up, and like so I have all the experience from the boom on, but before that,
So you feel like prices are down. Where like if you were in it before, like Jeremy and I talk about this all the time. Actually, I talked about it with Matt from Ludix too, which I absolutely love the Ludix app. That stuff works really fast too. But if you like look at the like progression of cards before the boom, like it's always been like pretty, you have like dips, but it's like dip up, dip up, dip up.
Yeah.
Steady growth. But then it like all of a sudden in 2019 and 2020, it shoots right up. And now it feels like it crashed. But if you look at card prices before that and you look at them now, they're up. I guess it would be like this for the audience.
Yeah.
So they are up. It's just it feels like everyone who entered during 2019-20, it feels like a big crash. But card prices are still average if you like take that weird anomaly out. They're still up.
Especially all the like blue chip,
yeah, for sure,
sought after stuff. I mean, that definitely, even with the dip, is still significantly up in most cases, I would say.
Yeah.
The stuff that timeless stuff.
The thing I'm seeing at shows is people like, okay, this is no disrespect to the people that use alt, but people shit on alt left and right, up and down, but everyone's using alt to their advantage when they're buying. And it kind of frustrates me because alt isn't 100% correct, because I know this because I had a Justin Fields silver, which shout out Jeremy's taking it to Skyline for me to sell. But he's using alt, and he's saying the alt value is saying it's at this price. But if you lose card ladder or any other thing, alt's not even saying the last price, like the sold listing, and the last sold was like where I had it at comp. So he was trying to get it like 50% off because alt was saying it, and I'm having a struggle, like kind of a struggle, because I feel like some of my cards are like that where alt's saying it's super low and everyone just goes all. I know there's someone in like he owns a card store, and Jeremy, you weren't there, came over and start scanning with alt and saying this is what this alt says. This is what alt says, and we're like,
I know who you're talking about, and he did the same thing to me. And the last comp, I'm like, yeah, that's my comp, and there aren't any other ones available. I'm the one that bought that, and so go ahead. You can find another one. If you can find another one for that price, it's yours. But I own this one. It's a pop one card. There aren't any other ones, and I paid that much for it 6 months ago, and so that's my comp.
Justin Fields out of 10 that ended at like at 4:00 on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Like all times, like super lucky.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, people use the data's good, right? But the problem is with data, 80% of people don't know how to like interpret data It's wrong.
Manny doesn't know how to say interpret. So.
Hit 10 o'clock. Hit 10 o'clock. My word just went. No, data, like they can't like realize like there's other factors, just not the sale of the
Exactly.
yeah. And people just look at sale and use it to their advantage, and it makes me angry.
I always use like if you were to draw the number 6 on a piece of paper and put it down and put it right in front of us, like to me it's a 6, but the way Evan's looking at it, it looks like a 9. We're looking at the same thing, and it's just that. We did an awesome deal. Same thing. I had a kid who tried using alt on a car when there was like legitimately an auction that just ended at bids, like in the $600 to $700 range. Tried using alt to tell me that the card was that, like 50% of that, and then wanted to pay another, like, he wanted 40% off of that, and then he wanted me to give him $100 as well. You know what I mean? But this was somebody who was very like-minded, and we were able to use Card Ladder to pull up a bunch of comps through the sales history and use that just as a reference point. And we were both able to agree that, like, hey, this is a low pop card, not many available. Team X has made these deals. They've added wide receivers, running backs. We're in agreement that they're going to be significantly better. And odds are that if another card hit the market right now, you would have the opportunity. Like if it went up on auction, we can both agree that it would be, 15 to 20%. Okay, cool. We established that. Then we were able to use another similar player, take 5 to 8 cards, let's say a Kaboom, a Silver, this and this, and find the difference between the two cards. Like, okay, this tends to be about 70% of, player Y. And use all that data. It ended up being like a 45-minute deal, but we were like-minded. It made sense. Ended up being like in all like a $3,000-$4,000 deal. And again, I was able to sell the card in front of the other guy who wanted to get it for me on pennies on the dollar. But the comps thing is that it's just a reference point. Nobody outside of Chris Hodge, who likes to read data for fun, most people
and Christina, don't forget, Christina loves data too.
Yes,
they're a match made in heaven.
Most people have never even read the white paper or understand how the indexes work to understand how that comes up with. And a quick question that you ask them is like, okay, if you take this card at $200, are you going to sell it at alt value, or are you going to turn around and try to sell it off the last comp? To which 100% of the time, when they're selling it, the tables are turned.
Yeah.
Oh, how the turns have tabled.
I got fleeced really bad when I got like back into the hobby on alt comps, and so I've been kind of on guard ever since, I guess.
I feel like buyers love alt comps and sellers are like, fuck alt comps.
I say it's a dealer's app. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It usually seems like the people that want to pay the least are always on alt. Like, well, this is what it says. I'm
like, I don't use alt. That is my pat answer to anyone who shows me an alt comp. I'm like, yeah, I don't use alt. I'm like, and then I pull up, like Card Ladder or Ludix, and I'm like, here's actual data, and like this is why I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you can, like, if that's the comp that you want to use, that's fine, but I'm not going to sell you my card.
I'll just say, like, not that I don't believe you or anything, but let me just take a quick look. And then just look up on Card Ladder or whatever.
Sorry, Ev. We actually use alt a fair amount when I'm buying, just so I understand what I'm getting into. And how What's that? No. I don't use it. I use it because if you're buying something, we're not buying it to hold. We're buying it to sell. And I want to understand what kind of conversation am I going to have. Yeah. And if that number is really wonky before I even buy the card, I'm already preparing for all the 100 dumbass conversations I'm going to have when zombies who come and just hover their phone above your case don't look at you and say, meh, 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 meh.
Yeah. So I never use alt, and it's so funny because Jeremy will be like he'll have bought a card and he'll put it in the case, and he's like, just so you know, he's like, everyone's gonna say that the alt value is this. He goes, but this is why I have it like that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, here's the thing is I'm not even gonna look it up on alt. So when they start offering me like shitty comps, I'm just gonna be like, yeah. I'm like, I appreciate him telling me that, but again, I'm not gonna have that conversation with people. And I'm not like one who's like, oh, I hate comps. I find that so like antiquated that people were like, I don't even want to hear the word comp. I like comps. I like having a jumping off point for a conversation, but I also don't like it when someone's going to throw a comp in your face that you know that if that was the comp for them and it was their card, they'd be like, that's a bullshit comp.
Yeah, because like how I price cards usually is through the last 3 comps and then average it out. And sometimes
I do that. I don't even do that if it's like a buy it now.
oh
If
yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
if it was like a weird like time where the card ended. If I'm buying a card from someone and I can see that this card, the last time it sold was like in the off season and the person had the auction ended Tuesday on like at like 8 a.m. on the East Coast. So it's like I get like that there are like there's extenuating circumstances, and if you're spending all of your time just trying to rip people off or you like squeeze and wring and just choke every last cent out of every deal, maybe this isn't the hobby for you because you're just gonna have a miserable time.
There was I think it was a Trevor Lawrence that we picked up, and the comps were like the last comp was super low because whoever sold it misspelled Trevor, and they just legitimately put Trevor Lawrence RC. And then like I don't know if they put the number, but they didn't put the brand, they didn't put the team. It was misspelled. And I was willing, like I told the guy, I'm like, hey, we should take this comp with a grain of salt because most people probably didn't see it because it was misspelled, mislabeled. I've got no problem paying you additional money because I too think that card is worth more.
God, do you remember that time? Who was that baseball player that I spelled his name wrong? And it should have been like it was like probably like $100 card and it went for like $5.
There's an actual site that you could look up people's names and how they misspell it, by the way, on eBay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And that's what people do.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that was my kind of like why I asked is because I see comps as like a kind of like a reference point. So I think I heard Jeremy say this at the show. It's a reference point to start a conversation for buying. It's not like you have to be able to read data to actually get good deals, or sell at a good price because you could get burnt either way just by looking at the last comp or going through all and not checking the other couple other sites that have comps on them.
Or letting people bully you.
Yeah.
Don't let them do that.
The more rare, the more dangerous with that stuff too, I feel like.
I think conversely, the people who don't utilize comps kind of do themselves because we all know like the dealer who never sells cards because they come up with their own pricing, which is fine. Like if you've got a 52 mantle, like a high grade 52 mantle, well, not many of those available, and those are in high demand. So you have a little bit of say in what goes on. But if it's just like a standard $20 card and you're like, I felt bad for a guy. He was the nicest guy ever. And he's like, he was don't talk to me about comps. He had his own justification of why he priced things the way he did, but also at the same time was frustrated that nobody wants to buy his cards. And so it's like, you have to be mindful of what other people are doing and the way that they're operating and figure out a way where you can remain true to the way that you want to operate, but also be flexible enough to adjust to what's going on around you.
I do feel bad for people who just like, they're so stuck in their ways and like unwilling to be flexible. And they used to drive me crazy and I'd get mad, but now I genuinely feel bad because I feel like they're not enjoying the space as much as they could if they would educate themselves or be more flexible or, just take a little bit of time to understand, if everyone around you is selling and we all feel like this is a thriving market. I don't have a problem selling cards at a show, and I'm not like selling cards at a loss. We make money doing this when we go to shows. So if that's happening and we're making deals, we're buying cards and you can't, it might be time to reflect on what you're doing in this space that's preventing you from like doing your best. Because at this point, it isn't everyone else. It's not the show. It's not, the people don't understand your cards. It's not people suck and they only think about comps. It is something that you're doing. And it's hard to like acknowledge that. I think sometimes nobody wants to like have to like admit that they're wrong or whatever. But sometimes it's just easier to be like, maybe when we first started, we talk about this all the time. We bought cards that we thought were cool, that we liked. And then we're like at shows trying to sell them. And like, just because that's our vibe doesn't mean like, that's not something everybody likes. And we struggled to sell stuff. And so what we did was we like completely shifted everything. And now we sell all the time because we educated ourselves and we like learned like, hey, just because you like weird 90s inserts doesn't mean that everybody wants that. There's a niche group of people that find that also cool, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be like widely popular.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do want to, Evan, you walked the show. You had the little guy with you. What did you see moving at other tables? Was it like was it low end? Was it mid tier? Was it high end? What did you see?
I think it was a lot of the mid-end stuff, like the, let's say, 50 to 200 range. I know it's kind of a broad range, but I feel like a lot of cards like that were moving, and I saw a lot of like volume in that range in people's cases, it seemed like, too. And
I feel like that seems to be what everybody's saying every time we ask that question now.
Yeah, and I mean, of course I talk to the dealers when they come into the shop and everything, and I ask them the same thing, and that's just the same. I get that, and I say ink, ink, and 50 to 200, like that's, and quarterbacks and stuff like that. Obviously, like with the season coming up, quarterbacks are heating up. I saw a lot of football. I saw more vintage than I usually did too, which was nice to see. So I was excited to see that. I only picked up one vintage card, but it was good to see. There was only one guy missing that normally has a really good vintage table that I noticed.
Did you go upstairs and see the vintage table set up upstairs?
I did. That guy had that whole set signed. I think it was a
right?
57 set, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
I mean, he had all the big guys signed already. He had the Mantle, the Mays, the Koufax, and something else. All he didn't have was the Clemente, which is kind of to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's insane. I didn't even just go upstairs. I
don't know where the stairs are. I had to find them.
It was just one table up there, but it was cool up there. So like that was, if it was getting claustrophobic for me downstairs, I would just pop upstairs real quick.
That's cool.
Manny, one thing that I thought was awesome, and I think that's truly where you thrive and where you are at your happiest in that space, is whether or not you are selling cards, you are a people person, you are a social butterfly. And because trade night was so good, if there was any pressure that you apply to yourself, like, oh, I have to hit a certain number, or I need to turn over some inventory, going into that day, I was able to enjoy the show more than I ever have in the past. It was more so, let's just make sure we're set up and let's just relax. And I know because I get so laser focused on what needs to be done, I don't get much of an opportunity to, chop it up and have fun. I'm pretty business minded. It was fun to like look over and all of a sudden there's like 18 people in my booth, whether it's like Trees must have said, all right, man, I'll catch you in a few minutes, and dapped it up 42 times before he actually left. Then next thing I know, Ryan's chilling in the booth. And then you're going and you're like, hey, I'm going to go walk. And everybody's saying hi. Everybody's hugging it up. We're having a hangout. And it was truly fun. Like, I feel like we've all been embraced by this awesome community. And it makes for like a truly enjoyable experience. Now, if you're able to leave with a little bit of coin in your pocket, some cool cards, hell yeah.
No, it was good.
I mean, I don't think anything proved that people embrace us more than their willingness to just put random fucking shit in their mouth and not know what it's gonna be. And then Gabby going around dragging people over to the table and forcing them to do it with us was probably my favorite thing that happened at the show.
Oh, yeah, she was grabbing everyone. I was walking and she was talking to Ryan, card collector too, going, you got to go over to the Reckless booth and do the bean boozle. And he's like, I got to go. So he took off.
Like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I might say something that will get me in trouble.
Throw up on camera. He's like, I don't want to.
Yeah. But all in all, I guess I want to go through and like, so start with Evan, then Courtney, and then Scumbag. Evan, how, like, 1 through 10, what would you say the show experience at Shipshewana was?
Honestly, I was talking to Andy about it today. Actually, that was one of the best shows I've been to. And I know I've been a few times, and it's always a good time. Last time it took me 5.5 hours to get through the blizzard. So that wasn't awesome, and I actually missed trade night because of that last time. So I'm really hoping to get to the next trade night, but for only
you're not going to any trade night. First, you had to shower, and then a blizzard stopped you.
Heaven forbid you bathe and you don't die in a blizzard.
And then this time I'm in the lake. I'm on the
I can't contribute to the problem at the shows. But yeah, it was amazing, and I love that show because we have a lot of the indie guys are there, but I also get like you guys and Trees and all the people from the surrounding states as well. It's kind of like one spot where everyone can meet up, and it's always a good time. It's out in the middle of nowhere, nothing else to do, so just enjoy your time and be with other collectors.
Yeah, Indiana, the crossroads of America.
Yeah,
that's all we got. That's all we got.
You're just like, oh, it's a really centrally located state. Yes, we'll go there.
Perfect for a meetup.
So I have a critique about the show, and it's like when somebody who has it all complains, it's kind of one of those things. But because it's become such an awesome environment, so many people, and that trade night is such a thing, that trade night leads to, there's a group of people, the same group of people at the Hilton that's about 10 minutes away. We hang out, have drinks, rip wax. You stay up until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you got to turn around and be up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning so you could drive an hour into Michigan to get Starbucks. I'm not complaining about the drive there. What I'm saying is it's so awesome to get together with everybody. It goes by too fast. It's one of those things where you need more than 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
11 out of 10. Awesome show.
11? You just cut Courtney. Wow.
No, I'm going to let Courtney finish.
No, Courtney. I said
Per
Courtney.
usual.
Like a gentleman.
One more sex joke before we're done.
Yeah.
Whoa, cards, man.
Courtney, what was your ranking, Courtney?
Oh, come on. I think I told multiple people that this was my best show yet. It was wonderful, and I couldn't even rate Shipshewana because there isn't a scale for it. It's my favorite show. So.
And then so what's your rating? You're just gonna bypass it?
Infinity.
Huh?
Infinity. My rating's infinity out of 10.
Okay. It's weird with me because I could go to this.
Manny, unfortunately, you have to have 3 hours of showtime to actually apply. You didn't meet the minimum, and you didn't do the trade night, so you're just going to moderate. You're going to go ahead and close us out of here.
That's fine. I just want to say any show that I could be with you guys and you, Evan, is a great show for me. It could be the worst show. We could be at a table of just 10 if it's with a group of people, and that's where Jeremy says I'm a social butterfly, but any time that I get to spend with the card family is the best. So
the best. I agree.
Because we do have people that are you guys are always so positive about card shows. I'm always positive because I get to hang out. I could sell one card and be happy. So
what is there to be mad about?
Exactly. That's what I don't understand. Nobody hates card shows and card collecting more than people who go to card shows and collect cards. I swear.
Don't go if it's not fun.
It's the people that do it as business and they're I gotta sell this pin. Well, don't go in that mindset, and then you'll love card shows.
You have a better time.
Yeah.
So 2 things before we go. I want to give a shout out to Trav who helped us out because I had to leave VCon early, so Mark's card shop took my case. Courtney met him to pick up the case, but Mark didn't have my case. I don't know why or how that works. So he brought it in. He set up at his first trade night. Yeah, probably. Had to come out with Trees Collectibles. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or partook in the same sort of activity. Anyway, he set up at his first trade night. I think that he was pretty happy with that. So I was excited to see somebody who, that's nerve-wracking. And he did it by himself. My first trade night, I stood there and I told Courtney, let's get the hell out of here. I am not exaggerating.
He's not. It was very stressful.
What the hell is this? We're at the Lowe's Hotel in Rosemont. I'm like, I'm not doing this. No. Let's get the hell out of here. but also the amount of people who came up and had something kind to say about the podcast or what kind of impact that we have on their life. It's crazy to think, because the people on the top of your screen are idiots. The people on the bottom are brilliant, but they're not typically on this show. And so for all the people who came up that, like, you know, the nice things that they say, that truly is like heartfelt and meaningful. And it's greater than me and Manny were just, it was actually about 1 year ago at Shipshewana where we cut the first ever Too Thick promo.
Yep.
Where it was just music. It was like Too Thick. And that was it. And so go from there.
June 9th is your 1 year anniversary, guys. It's coming up.
Yeah, we
feels
got
like a lifetime.
We got a hot date.
So, you know, to think that we just wanted to get on here and be knuckleheads and talk cards, and that, you know, there's other knuckleheads out there that, you know, find what we have to say, you know, seek help. I know the medical community, like the insurance thing is rough in America, but seek help. But too, like, in all seriousness, it's awesome, and we appreciate you all.
Cocaine.
Evan, before we go, plug your socials, plug your card, like your sponsored card show that you guys have in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Just plug everything.
So socials are just, actually all I do for cards is Instagram, Collective_Indy. We definitely have to get you guys out to Indy Card Exchange. That's the shop I work at. And then the Midwest Monster, June 9th and 10th. It's in Fishers, right outside of Indy. Plenty of hotels and accommodations if you're coming from out of town. It's going to be about 375 tables, I believe. So it'll be the perfect little warm-up show to the National.
Okay, so please tell Andy that he's going to cut us a check, because we weren't using my damn podcast to run commercials for whatever show that is.
I had to cut the promo.
You got to let him know, man. You got to let him know you went on and you ran an infomercial for his show.
Yeah.
Talking about Shipshewana. Brad beef with him, too.
Yeah. And Courtney, explain. I know I just asked Jeremy, when's the next Dangerous Games?
Tomorrow. It's dropping tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. Let the people know, Courtney.
So, yeah, if you like true crime and sports cards, we have myself and Sarah, Mrs. Squirts Cards, have built a really cool kind of macabre collection of sports crime cards, and we have a podcast called Dangerous Games Podcast. It is as lighthearted as a true crime podcast can possibly be, and respectful. Tomorrow will be Pat Tillman, I figured, with everything that happened, and it's Memorial Day week, so we are going to pay our respects to that absolute American hero.
Love it. And Jeremy,
smash the subscribe button, do all that stuff, share it with friends and family. You know what I mean? A 90-minute banger on a Tuesday night. Let's go.
Yep, love it. Thank you guys in the comments for listening. It means the world. Thank you, Evan, for joining, because that means the world. Without you guys, there's no Too Thick.
No, there's still Too Thick. Calm down.
Nobody will be listening to it.
You're overrating the Thickolos.
Yelling at the sky. Everybody just out here being like, listen to us.
No,
Garrett and company, you're welcome. That's all I have to say. You're welcome. We should start a Patreon.
You're so lucky. Yes. You're so lucky that Jeremy and Manny put out content. Don't you know how lucky you are that they put out content? I know other podcasts have said that in the past, but you don't know how lucky you are.
Oh yeah,
Jeremy
I've heard
and
that.
Manny put out content. So
I'm just happy Jeremy likes me for a year.
Be thankful.
So I'm pretty happy Jeremy likes me still within this year. So
well, as long as those fanatic checks keep coming, I'll continue to like you, my friend.
Once that ends, it's game over. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed your hobby release. We will be back soon. I'm going to make Jeremy record another episode of Too Thick with just us, with the thickest of the week, because we have a good one. I have a good one, Jeremy, from your break from last week or yesterday. That was your 8-hour break. I have a couple of them. So with that, I hope you guys have a good night and peace.
Thanks, guys.